What we'd like to do now is to go into our first section where we are looking at a particular facet of change within the cities. The format is as follows. You'll see that we've got a richness of speakers. I'm the most unpopular person among them because I said, look, what I'd like you to do is to give us 5 minutes of impact presentation. Give us a proposition, sell an idea, and then we want to have a chat with you, because presentations are great, but I can also get from them from websites. It's when we start interacting and wrestling with issues that it gets really interesting. So wonderfully, I was beaten into submission, and now we've gone for 5 minutes, 20 seconds. But that was a pretty cool negotiation, I thought. So each of our presenters is going to offer a key kind of proposition related to their work. They're going to come up one at a time and make their presentations. And I believe their presentations will be available with their permission on assorted websites after the event. I'm then going to get them back up on these wonderfully comfortable couches, and we're going to really open up a conversation with you. So that's the plan, and our first one is around utilities, around that infrastructure, most of it unseen underneath the surface of the city, that fuels, powers, ensures sanitation, water, all the rest of it. And there are extraordinary developments taking place. Energy is one of those elements that is particularly significant in terms of innovation there. We had hoped to be joined this morning by Piyush Goyal, who's the Minister of State with independent charge for power, coal, new and renewable energy in India, and also very much a pioneer of the 100 Smart Cities initiative. Unfortunately, he's been called away to the United Nations in New York, key meetings taking place there. However, we've got 3 other speakers to offer us their take on what they're doing to make a difference in cities. And to start us off, delighted to welcome to the platform Maryrose Sylvester, who's President and CEO of Current, powered by GE, and I think I'll let you do the explaining. So great to have you with us, Maryrose.
Good morning, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here. I lead Current, powered by GE. We are moving to Boston here as a new startup within GE, and I'll tell you a little bit about what we do and why we think it's so exciting and so relevant to today's topic. Here's how we see the world. We think there's 3 converging forces going on around energy and energy infrastructure. First is that the cost of energy is coming down because of technology. When you think about forces around the world, whether it's Moore's law, Heitz's law, semiconductor technologies coming down, LED lighting has hit a tipping point where the return on investment is here and now. Solar power is everywhere where it's efficient, and distributed power is becoming more of a way of life. So energy technology is allowing energy costs to be more readily available, more efficient on a distributed basis. Second, cloud computing and Internet of Things is everywhere. Big data, cloud computing allows you to have better analytics and take more real-time control of the environment around you. And there's an increasing opportunity to make machines smarter in order to make businesses and cities run more efficiently. And finally, there's new disruptive business models everywhere, and we have this opportunity to move from a CapEx world to an OpEx world and deliver energy as a service, data as a service, lighting as a service, and to allow cities and business owners think about how they spend their money more efficiently and deliver more economic value sooner. So that's how we see the world at GE, and that's really why we thought the time is now to offer a new opportunity, and that's what we're calling Current. What we're doing in Current is aggregating our capabilities, our innovation that we've been incubating for some time, all around distributed power and energy efficiency. So LED lighting, solar, energy storage, electric vehicle charging. Bring it together. Instead of offering it as a vertical technology to an industry, we're offering it as a platform. And to really think of this as a new kind of energy infrastructure for the world. We're taking this and combining it with the power of digital and cloud computing and putting this digital overlay on everything we do, sensor enabling everything, control-based everything we do, to allow us to really deliver outcomes to customers. We're then bringing that with new business models, whether it's power as a service or lighting as a service, bringing our balance sheet so that, again, we can allow customers to think about everything on an as-needed basis and really pay by the drink, pay by the month. And then hiring people that can go out and speak the language of our customers to understand the problems that need to be solved. So whether it's a mayor trying to solve parking optimization or carbon footprint or safety or security, or a business owner trying to interact more with their shoppers and their clients to compete with the Amazons of the world. How do we help businesses and cities solve the problems that need to be solved for their customers? So that's what we're doing, is trying to create a new way of doing business to drive better outcomes. And here's the outcomes that we're very focused on here in Current. First of all, is to reduce energy costs, allow people to use less energy, consume less energy, whether it's through LED or other energy efficient technologies. The next is to produce power on site. Many customers want to have the agility of producing power on site, whether it's solar or CHP to produce on site. The next is to help customers shift their energy usage, to understand with our software overlay how they understand where they're using energy, how they're consuming energy, and really to avoid peak demand charges to allow them to be more efficient with their operating dollars. And then to really optimize businesses' performance through sensor enabling everything to, again, let customers through cloud computing, through sensors in their ubiquitous light sources, understand what's going on in the environment underneath them and allow them to get more out of their assets. So whether it's a city, again, sensor enabling and allowing parking to flow more smoothly, or to understand if a sound is truly a gunshot and dispatch security and police 911 faster and save lives, allows you to think about new ways of creating a new energy infrastructure and really attacking the pain points of society. So we really think about our business of where we have this unique opportunity, this moment in time where technology allows us to create an entirely new energy infrastructure where you're delivering energy, you're reducing the cost of energy, and you're driving overall productivity and sustainability. So I think a really interesting example of this is a deal that we just completed with JP Morgan, that you just think about the power of what you can do through energy efficiency and cloud computing. We're in the process of relighting 5,000 of JP Morgan's branches here across America, 25 million square feet. First thing we're going to do together is just move everything to LED lighting. They're going to save 184,000 kilowatts a year of power. And then more importantly, it's going to allow them to think about this LED as a platform for the future. And how do you put a controls base on top of this platform and allow them to look at patterns going on across their footprint around what's going on with their HVAC, what's going on with their LED, what's going on with their plug load devices, and how do you now let that network orchestrate itself to perform better and reduce your overall energy footprint. So we're just getting started, but we really truly believe that the power of digital, the power of distributed technology, distributed resources allows us to really think differently about providing better outcomes for customers. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Maryrose. We look forward to opening up the conversation in a few moments about how this is evolving and what some of the challenges that are facing enabling these exciting innovations to be delivered in real places in real time. Our second presentation comes from Kees van der Klauw, who's Senior Vice President at Phillips. Phillips, a huge pioneer both within the lighting sphere, but also really trying to reach out and offer systems that support change. So delighted to welcome to the platform Kees van der Klauw. I think we probably just go.
Actually, my name is Kees, just in case. But it's a Dutch. I'm going to talk about the pole. The Major was talking about the Pope. I'm going to talk about the pole. The pole is an asset in the city that is usually very much unnoticed, highly valued by dogs, and sometimes people notice it when a car runs into it, or probably when the light is not working. But actually we see the lighting pole, or the smart lighting pole, as a very important part in the renewal of cities and developing economically sustainable and livable cities. So let's have a look at some of the world trends that make this pole so important in the future. What is the development of large cities? Yeah? People are going to live in big cities, and by 2050 the expectation is that 2 out of 3 people are going to live in urban environments, and millions of people in big cities. That's one important trend. The other trend is that we will be getting older, happier, healthier, but older. And today we have 500 million people over 65. The expectation is by 25 we will have 1.5 billion people over 65. And they need to live in those big cities, and they need to live a healthy and happy life. Yeah, that's another challenge. Let's look at this picture. This is a compiled nightlife picture. You can't make this picture because then you have to shut off the sun, but you can do with graphics. This is a picture which shows you the energy in the world, the energy consumption, but it also shows you economic development, because light is equivalent to economic development. So what we see here first is a tremendous energy usage in the Western world. But what we also see is that in Africa and in South America, there's hardly light, which is equivalent to stopping after the sundown, stopping education, stopping economic development. So you can have 2 conclusions from this picture. One, in certain spaces, the world needs more light, but overall the world needs definitely more energy efficient lighting, because we cannot go on spilling so much light and spilling so much energy. Now these challenges, getting older, people living in cities, often people refer to smart cities as the solution for these problems. So what is a smart city and how to build a smart city? Actually, it's quite a promise and quite a liability to make such a statement, you could say. So let's look at some of the trends in the smart city, and then I will come to why lighting can play such an important role. Smart cities are going to have smart grids. Maryrose already referred to it. Smart grids for power buffering, for negotiation of loads versus energy generation. Smart cities are going to have autonomous driving cars or transport systems that are highly autonomous. But all these things require infrastructures, and not only the mobile infrastructure that people carry around their mobile phone, but also fixed infrastructure for sensing, communications, and providing ubiquitously and very reliable information from sensors in the city. But also indoor, people shopping. Yeah? People want context-relevant information. So not all the information at once, but they want information when they need it, where they need it. So you need indoor navigation and you need context-sensitive information. And lighting can play a role in that, visual light communication. And last but not least, cities need data, lots of data. Yeah? Now, what my statement is that actually the smart lighting infrastructure can play a very good role in future city development because of 3 reasons. First of all, there's a need for energy saving and CO2 footprint reduction, and with modern LED digital lighting, we can do that. We can have tremendous energy saving. The second thing is that this lighting network is ubiquitous. It's all around, unnoticed, but it's there. Yeah? And by getting it into electronics and communication, you can use that infrastructure pretty easily to host also sensors and other functions. Yeah? So these 3 things make it a very strong candidate. So this is an example of the pole that we have developed together with Ericsson. Yeah? It's a 4G network integration supporting the Internet of Things, but at the same time hosting very efficient street lighting. Now you can ask yourself, is that just lighting? And is it an alternative to darkness? No, actually, and should we continue to build such ubiquitous networks? I'm not sure this is ubiquitous, but this is certainly not an infrastructure you would build in a city. So if we could use the obvious ubiquitous lighting infrastructure and get rid of all those cables, then you can even do more than just having the lighting use case, such as crowd management. And we have experimented with that, and we have good results of making people at ease, making people happy, and actually suppressing rows and uproars after football matches, for instance, by having light settings that match people. Yeah? City beautification, making the city more attractive, yeah, is also what you can do with new modern lighting. In stadiums, provide infrastructure for crowd control, emergency, but also high definition and super slow motion recordings of video. Yeah? But the time is now. Yeah? If you now decide to invest in such an infrastructure, including intelligence and communications, then you will be ready for the future. So my plea is to look at the lighting infrastructure for future cities, but make it intelligent and not just dumb lighting. That's my message.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Much food for thought from the humble lighting stand. We will look at them with new eyes from today. Our third initial offering into this section around utilities infrastructure, Anna Brogi, who's Senior Vice President at Enel Group, Italian-based company. And again, you're looking, I think, very much in the energy world, but at some exciting developments, not only in Europe, but also further afield. So interested to hear some of your key thoughts.
Thank you so much. Okay. Good morning. It's an honor for me to speak here, and only one word about Enel. Enel today is the biggest multi-utility in the world. We work in 40 countries, 4 continents, and we manage power plant, renewable plant, distribution energy, connected to 61 million of customers all over the world. But now, ho sbagliato io, okay. But now we turn around our point of my presentation that is from a smart grid to smart city. Smart grid is not more than electricity network improved with digital solution that make the grid able to integrate the flow of data and the flow of information that we have in the city. And this is our beautiful slides that show you how we built whole the smart grid around the meters, because Enel in 2000 decided to change all the meters of the customers in digital meters, and then in this moment we have the second wave of meters, and we are able to change a new meters for the grid. So the distribution system operator could be the enabler to have a smart city and to have a platform for the city where all the information and all the data could be shared with the other actors and with the other stakeholders of the town. We are not only the leader in the metering, but we manage and we improve a lot for the network automation. The grid could be the first things that we can development all the different improvement for technology that the city could need. So we have storage, we have energy management, we manage LED lighting and electric mobility, where the electric mobility is one of the first improvement project that we could do for the city and for a better climate, better weather in the world. But the challenge of the city is the cost-effective and sustainable urban flows and how to manage energy, water, and transportation. And the electric networks could be the information hub about this data and could be the point where it's possible to share all the information that you need. We speak and we are involved in a lot of projects all around the world, and in Italy, in Spain, and in Latam. We manage the distribution system in Latam of Rio de Janeiro, Bogota, Lima, Santiago del Chile, and Buenos Aires. So we know the different needed that we have, the networks, people, and different growth in the different part of the world. But I want to show you only two projects. One is the Expo. Expo is the Universal Exposition that was in Milan in 2015. And has been the first greenfield smart city for 100,000 people in the world, powered by Enel. And there was 21 million of visitors in this place. And now we are transforming this place in the city of technology and of sciences for Italy. In the Expo, in the place of Expo, that the technology, the most innovative technology for the grid was improved with the automatic grid control, with the storage system, with the energy management system for all the different pavilions that worked during the exposition, and 100 research stations for the electric vehicles. We had also an operational center that helped us to monitor and to manage all the electricity. But the other project that I want to show you is Búzios. Búzios is a small town, is a vacancy small town in Brazil, and this is not only a smart city, it's a social smart city, because we try to cover the gap between the people and the instruction of people and technology, because technology, and we try to help people to do a jump in the technology and to use the technology how you can in the better way. But the three words that it's in the global scenario for the urban growth in this moment for us is divergency, decoupling, and evaluation, because we are working in a global world where heterogeneous growth is, we manage heterogeneous growth, different in Europe or in the countries of Latam, or in USA where the growth is very good in this moment. This is the decoupling, because economic growth is electricity demand is disconnected in this moment. So our normal idea to how to invest money in the grid is not the right idea, no? Because we have the immediately return of money, and that devolution, because we have a country where we have a devolution of 30%, how is Brazil and other. But we have a word that help us, that is convergence. That is convergence of technology, of people, and energy for the service, for the integration of all urban solutions could be our words to answer to this question. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. So, three people involved with organizations doing extraordinary things in cities around the world. What I'd like to do is just give you a moment just to pause, maybe with your newfound friend or someone to your left and right, or just have a pause, just have a conversation. What's beginning to emerge in your thinking related to the extraordinary innovations taking place as they play into the area of utilities. We've heard a focus very much on lighting, on energy. There may be other experience around the room related to other elements of our urban infrastructure. So just have a quick conversation. What grabs you? I'll then bring our panel back up here. We'll have a conversation, and I would love to be driven by questions, thoughts, ideas from yourselves. So many conferences you consume all day. I do want you to be driving the conversation. So I'll take some questions with the panel in a few moments. Okay, I assume by the volume that either you've had a lot of conversations and a lot of questions that the person next to you has answered, or maybe there are some thoughts and some ideas that you want to feed in. I am going to honour this as a participative day in that I've got a shed load of questions I'd like to ask, but I'd rather be driven by you. So if at any point, starting from now, you've got a question, a roving mic at my instruction will come to you faster than a Denmark cycle, or whatever it's called, bike. And then if you could just say who you are and where you're from and keep it to a brief observation or a question, that would be cool. So there's a lady over there. Let's see how fast a microphone gets to you. Look at that.
I'm so impressed.
Hey.
I have a question, I think, for Maryrose.
And you are?
Oh, I'm Barbara Thornton, Asset Stewardship, and I'm from the Boston area. The question for Maryrose on, you said the magic word platforms. I want to know how selling into streetlights and improving streetlights for cities, I'm interested in the city perspective, will make a difference in helping them create an overall platform for their cities and improving governance and obtaining data on how to make the city a better place in general. What are some really cutting-edge ideas for doing that?
Thanks for your question there. It is. We need to consider it as a platform, right? What we're really trying to figure out is how do you really create this new energy infrastructure. And we start with coming through the LED, and you think about it's everywhere, it's in the right height, it sits at the right place. It can kind of be like the cell phone of the city, right? It's the infrastructure, and then you start putting applications on it. And then so what you have now is technology, though, is starting to outpace business models. So I think our biggest challenge is how do you develop that platform through both a cloud computing platform and a digital foundation, but then how do you deliver a business model that allows it to be treated like a platform? There's an ecosystem that has to be created of partnerships, but then there's also the how do you sell it? How do you understand the budget of a city? Because the power we have is to create real economic value that spans stakeholders across the city, spans departments. So you can help with security, you can help with environment, you can help with parking, you can help with safety. Those are all different departments, and how do we figure out how to deliver that value and understand how to crack the code to make it more efficient to deliver? You can sell it as you absolutely have your energy efficiency day one, and that's what we're betting on, is there is huge economic value day one, but then there's economic value to keep people in your city and to have a parking space and not leave. There's economic value to keep people being run down from your safety vehicles coming through an intersection at high speed and not knowing there's pedestrians in your crossways. There's economic value to having people shot and not responded to, in a fast and a secure manner. There's economic value to reducing your carbon footprint. We have to figure out how we deliver that to a city in a way that a city can consume. That's probably our biggest challenge today. I think the technology is here. It's moving very quickly. It's how do we find the right stakeholder. It usually starts with the mayor that says, this is the way I want to run my city, and then convenes the right departments to say, how do we find the right budget? Who can step up and say, this is going to offer you money, free up money in your budget, and you're willing to contribute in a way to fund it. And then we have to deliver it in a way that a city can consume it by the month, so it can move from a capital outlay to a monthly outlay.
Okay. Kees, did you want to offer anything in addition?
Yeah, I can only indeed confirm that platforms are extremely important, and it's a bit of a chicken-egg problem. I believe that most of the innovations still have to be invented, but if there's no platform, there's no way of finding out what the most relevant innovations are. You can look at it as a computer. Yeah? Many people are now using computers and mobile phones to develop apps, which are extremely economically relevant. But without such a platform, there would not have been any opportunity to do it. And I think that in cities, and particularly the lighting infrastructure, could provide one of the platforms. I don't think there's a single smart city platform, but there will be a combination of verticals, people from energy, people from security, people from traffic management and lighting. And with open interfaces, you could start establishing such a platform, and then also invite many SMEs and startups and creative individuals that can have numerous new applications that we could not imagine today.
Okay. I'm interested in who's driving this process, because we want delivery. We want our cities to be moving forward and make a difference. Are you finding that it is city mayors, their departments that are saying, hey, this is what we want, this is what, and you find solutions and innovate, or are you the innovators saying, hey, you could do this? I'm just interested in where that dynamic is and what's that telling us about the pace of change.
The process could be different because if you have some manager of the city that understand that the smart city or the project of the city could be a good things for communication, good things for political results, and also good thing for citizens. This is obvious in Europe, because I understand that in America it's different, but in Europe our politicians, people must understand that if you help people to live in a better way, it's a good thing. So they move money, because money, for instance, in Europe, we have found. We have found for economic European communities, we have found for new sustainability idea, but we need to have a project that integrate whole, because you can build a good lighting in a part of the city, and then another things in another part, and there is no integration. So the problem, I believe, it's only my idea, It's how to integrate the different stakeholders and the different possibility to have found.
Right.
This is my idea.
Okay. Do you want to respond to that question as well, where that
Yeah,
where
I
that
think
drive is and how good the conversation is?
Every technology shift takes a champion on both sides, right? So I think it's our responsibility to provide the technical innovation and the different business models to deliver it, but we have to find the champions, and typically the champions are the mayors, and whether it's Mayor Walsh or Mayor McCarthy, these are people that are forward thinking, that all they think about all day is how to make their city run better, and what the city's doing here about making their outcomes visible to citizens is a totally new concept, right? And so you have to find those champions, and you have to help them understand the value that you can provide.
Right. Okay, we've got a question over there. If you keep your hand up until the microphone comes to you, that's lovely. We try and find people asking questions in the most awkward places in the middle of the grouping. So.
Hi, good morning. My name is Arvind Malhotra, and I'm with the Mahindra Group, actually part of their IT group, the Tech Mahindra, and we actually partner with the GE quite a bit. So the question for Maryrose is, do you have economic models where you can monetize this? Because we see today the adoption is at a very low pace, largely because of the economic model. So can the private sector help in any which way? And are there any models out there that can be amplified?
Absolutely. So we spend a lot of time on economic models, right? Understanding the value of our technology, because when you think about it, we are totally disrupting ourselves as an industry, right? When you move LED, you're throwing away your incandescent, your fluorescent range. So we are disrupting ourselves, and we're putting pressure, on the equipment we sell to the grid. So we try to have a view of what's the value you're creating. I think the LED economic model is very easy, right? It saves 50 to 70% of a city's energy costs. It provides asset management when you put the controls platform on place, so you can sit with the city and say, how much money do you spend trying to understand when your light pole, something's burnt out? And they just send bucket trucks around the city waiting for it to get dark to see when the light pole's burnt out, right? That's like a huge waste. So we can quantify that. The things that are non-lighting related, we've had to really work at how do we quantify that savings. So we've done a very extensive pilot in San Diego and Jacksonville to understand the economic benefits of parking optimization, parking enforcement, and of crime detection. And so we have exhaustive models on what we think the value is to a city of each of those sizes, and then how much does it cost to enable it, and then how do you share that savings?
Okay, thank you for that. I think there was one there. And don't forget, hashtag BitsBricks will get you fast track to this machine here.
Hi, my name is Travis Sheehan. I'm with the Boston Redevelopment Authority, Boston's planning and economic development agency. I specialize in microgrids and have seen a lot of companies, both corporate and startups, leveraging major balance sheets, but also large pension funds and long-term investors to try to get these projects in the ground. When we see cities around the nation, this is specifically in the US context, trying to get these projects off the ground, they always say that their bond financing is cheaper. So will the grid of the future actually make sense for large corporates if they can't use their own capital to invest in it? And the cities are the ones driving a lot of the investment.
Anyone brave enough to offer a response to that?
I'm not sure to have the answer to this question.
Right.
It's, energy efficiency is something that we know. It's incredible that it is 25 years that we speak about energy efficiency, and we are speaking for the future, because people don't understand that if you save energy, you save money. People, but not only people, because your city are an example that energy is not an important thing. So I believe that if you want to change your idea, you must disrupt the normal chain, no? And if you use better energy, how many money you could save in 10 years, in 15 years? I don't know if it's the answer. It's only
the financing mechanisms.
Yeah.
Do either of you want to offer a comment?
Yeah, I can.
Yeah,
So
Kees.
I think one of the strong things is that energy saving for public lighting, which is 20% or 25% of the energy bill of cities, that in itself is a justification. Yeah? So by taking the steps in energy saving with LED lighting, I think you buy yourself into a future which brings a lot more use cases that you could not justify one by one on its own. And that's a platform thinking. You have to believe, or you have to establish a platform and justify it, and there are very few singular use cases that can do that, but there's one which is called energy. Yeah, and by taking that step, you can have a lot more fun and a lot more economically viable applications on top of that.
I'm not sure it's fully answered your question, but the question, just from your experience, would you offer, maybe you have more expertise on this, would you offer an observation about the challenge that you set?
An observation is simply that there are a lot of private project developers that are trying to usher the grid into the future, and they have a lot of capital interest behind them. And it's very difficult for them to accept that they're going to become an engineering or a contracting company and not an investment vehicle. And so is the corporate interest and is the investment interest really able to sustain what's needed for the future business models?
Right, okay. Thank you. Did you want to just...
No, I just say, and we're trying to figure this out. So on some projects, we're using our balance sheet or GE Capital's balance sheet, and on some projects, we're using other people's money. And I think what we're learning is you have to give choices, and it depends. So even when we're selling to an enterprise, we start with, here's how we can finance this, and you pay for it over 10 years, and you save more than you pay every month. And sometimes it starts there and they love it, and sometimes by the end they go, forget it, we'll just use our own money because we have the cash, right? So you have to have choices for customers.
Right, okay. Was a question over?
Yeah, my name is Marco Ferrara. I'm an entrepreneur in the space of clean energy and sustainable infrastructure. I've been for quite some time now. And I want to go back for a second to the question or the subject of the interface between policy and regulators and technology, because it's essential. I'll give you an example. My previous company was developing software for optimal energy storage sizing, configuration, and dispatch in behind-the-meter applications. And there are certain areas in the country, in the nation, and in the world where this application has paybacks as short as 3 to 5 years. So it is viable, it is a good investment, and shaping that load to remove the peaks saves all the upstream infrastructure from generation, transmission, distribution, everything. So makes sense, is cost effective. However, and I may have a comment to this, utilities, distribution utilities cannot always or everywhere recognize energy storage as a transmission distribution asset. Cannot get paid it back through ratepayers and rate cases. Again, a case where technology is there, cost effectiveness is there, and regulators are not caught up. Now, I've been on the other side of these equations, siding up with regulators and kind of discussing with them. And the problem is that, not they didn't want to do it, they didn't have the tools to assess quickly the value of this kind of new holistic planning. So I'm thinking technologies for regulators, for them to quickly assess opportunities and keep up with new innovative technologies. That's fundamental, I think.
Right, okay. Does anyone, that's a very helpful observation. Just wonder whether there's some nods here, whether anyone wants to add anything to that.
I think that's where leadership comes in. And if the city majors play a key role, and you see cities in Europe, cities in the United States that take the lead in driving this innovation. If you would leave it to one of the stakeholders, and we're talking about quadruple helix, so that's industry, and you have many industries with their own interests. You have academia, you have government, and you have the citizens. And I think the major is playing a key role in leveraging across those stakeholders. And one of the big issues is to get it going, because you have to create a win-win-win-win situation. Yeah? But I think the major and the local government can play a key role.
Yes, the other thing is that normally the utilities are not so smart. And in Europe, we are discussing again if it's better to change the digital meter or not. For instance, in France or in Germany, or if you want, only England and Italy and Spain, because we push on about this. And the regulatory in Italy, for instance, we are discussing with the regulatory people about dispatching. So now we have a lot of renewable that's connected with the networks that we move energy, electrons, and where is the dispatching? Can we do the dispatching or the dispatching? So it's, no? It's it's a discussion that is all over the world, and but we believe that all is possible, because if utility how Enel understand that it's possible in a different country or in an area where it's not possible to have a big grid, no? So this is a solution, and we know, and we believe that it's possible. In fact, Enel declared that in 2015 will be CO2 free, no? That is a revolution for utility that decided that they don't want to have conventional power energy. And so I believe that we need patience and we need time. Not a lot, but we need time.
Okay. Was there one just at the front here? Yeah.
Thank you. My name is Nahid Denshi. Excuse me. I am the mayor of Calgary. I'll be on the stage later today. I just wanted to jump on one thing that I heard from Maryrose, which is this whole idea of moving from CapEx to OpEx. In my world, that is exactly the opposite of what I would want to do, because the way that municipal governments are funded in many ways means that capital grants are easier to come by than operating expenses. Operating dollars have to be funded from the taxpayer base every day. So if I am looking at lighting, for example, as a service, then I've got to figure out how to fund that, as opposed to getting capital grants from other orders of government or from developers who are building new communities that I can use to actually build out the capital infrastructure. So I'm very interested in this movement, because I wonder if for your municipal customers, if this actually is a very difficult thing for us to be able to handle, to move to a platform or a service for things that have traditionally been capitalized.
Thank you for that question.
It's a great question. It is one of the big challenges we're facing on the city side. I think on an enterprise side, moving from a CapEx to OpEx is much easier to do, right? And the challenge is because we're now taking this infrastructure that is lighting, that has always been capital, but it's providing a value that is helping operating budgets, right? It's helping with safety, it's helping with security, that aren't capital budgets, they're ongoing operating expenses for a city. And so we're merging a platform to solve problems, to make a city run much more efficiently. And we're pushing on the parameters we all have of how we're all funded and policy change and what has to change. So one thing we know for sure is we have to be flexible. And so in one city that we've been piloting, this is exactly the conversation. They have a big capital budget, but not an operating budget. So we have to deliver it that way. And so it's back to us to come up with a different business model, and we're doing that.
Okay. Just in the limited time I've got, I just want to just broaden the lens a little bit. I can see if I'm discussing with the Mayor of Calgary or the Mayor of Boston with an infrastructure of staff who get it, organizing things well, financial models, all the rest of it. The huge growth, I mean, our mega cities, China, India, Brazil, cities like Cairo, Egypt. I mean, there are cities that are growing exponentially in a kind of chaotic kind of challenged fashion. And I'm just trying to get a feel as to whether it'll all be fine when everything is well organized and we've got street lights neatly going down all our streets and all the rest of it. In terms of core infrastructure in our rapidly developing cities and mega cities, I just wonder whether you, and I know you've got some experience of that, do people get this? Or are they just the basic challenges of trying to get the city together too great for some of what may appear boutique solutions rather than fundamental needs? There's a challenge for you.
People need, because it's the pictures that show before with the networks, that it's not a network, it's something like that. It's incredible to see, but people need something that is easy to use and the cost is not so high. So our technology must be redesigned for people that it's poor, no? Because it's impossible to compare one American customer who have 12 kilowatt hours for 1 year, so with people that normally consume 400 kilowatt hours in 1 year, no? So you must change the idea to give a networks, to give an infrastructures where it's possible to put on something that help people to live. So it's a philosophy, not an engineer. But I believe that sometimes if you think out of your scheme, it's possible that you have a good idea, no? Because if you think only about financial, it's something that's it's not possible to believe, no? That you can build.
All right. Okay, so I wonder whether, I mean, do you have experience of some of those cities, and is what you're offering people saying, this
well, we have a special incubator for the base of the pyramid, so developing economies. And I could say that technology is the least of our problem. It requires really business model innovation, being there, understanding the local constraints. I think the other mistake is that, or generally made mistake, is that developing countries are not following in order what Western countries have done. I think they may leapfrog and they go straight for new technology like LED lighting, solar, but the way to implement it requires really local presence and working with local stakeholders on the constraints. And usually that's not a technology discussion, it's a discussion on how can we implement it, how can we involve the local community and make it economically relevant for that place.
Okay. Did you want to offer?
I just say that grid stability, energy efficiency is a global problem. Smart cities is a global opportunity. One of our biggest and fastest smart city implementations will probably be in China. So I'd say there is absolutely a global opportunity here.
Right. Yeah. Okay. If I could thank our initial panel for some very interesting insights. Great start. We're going to move on in a moment to look at the whole area of buildings and construction. But for now, Maryrose, Kees and Anna, thank you very much indeed. Thank you. Thank you.